Hi guys, my name is Kube and this is Kube Says. Now, in this episode, we're going to be discussing something that a lot of people don't realize they're in till they're in it. And unfortunately, that leads to a lot of conflicts, a lot of confusion, a lot of turbulence, a lot of misunderstandings. So what I'm here to do today is kind of give you a different perspective. So just in case you haven't yet caught up to what exactly I'm talking about, I'm discussing the infamous midlife crisis. It's not a bad thing. It's just another phase in life. It's just a transition from point A to point B, leading you to point C in life. So please, stick around. You might learn something, okay? So this is a challenge, and like I said, most people only really know that they're in it when they're in it. So stick around, and I'll be breaking this down for you into little tidbits so you can fully understand and fully grasp where I'm coming from with all this information. So, what is midlife crisis? At every stage in life, there are milestones and there are things that you're expected to achieve. In the first 35 years of life, this is what is called half-life. After 35, there's another half of your life. Okay? This is the average. No, we're not taking life expectancy and any of those things into consideration. We're just giving you kind of the emotional background of what's going on. So back to it. Every 7 years in life, from 7 to 35, you achieve certain milestones. Either you finish primary school, secondary school, you hit adolescence, you get your first job, you meet your life partner, you have your first child, you have your first real big life achievements between 7 and 35. Now these life achievements or these tasks you are now achieving in that stage of life have always been governed by either your parents or society. Okay? Now after 35, things change. Because now your parents are no longer your guide in life. They'll give you advice, but you don't have to do what they tell you. And secondly, you are now trying to find yourself because you're making decisions for you now. So now, just to give you a brief, 7 to 35, this stage you're just completing tasks, okay? 35 going on, all the way up to end of life, you are now on a journey, okay? And this is where now you discover two things. Your most authentic self. Because in order for you to move from 35 going this way, you're setting tasks for yourself. In order to set tasks for yourself, you need to know yourself. Because how do you set tasks for somebody you don't know? Then you also now are on a hunt or a search for wholeness. You finished half of life. You're now in the second half. So you want to feel that completeness, that totality of it all. Okay? So you've now moved from, what do I want to be when I grow up, to what type of old person do I want to be? Now, this journey can be turbulent. It can have some really dramatic changes happen to you. But all in all you need is some self-reflection and a few other practical things to get you through. But this is a point that I also want to just hit home with. Midlife is no longer happening between the ages of 40 and 60 like it used to. Okay? For two reasons. One, people are not living as long as they used to. So they're tending to experience things sooner. So that's number one. Number two, a lot of these traditional milestones are no longer necessary. They're no longer obligations. No one will force you to get married. No one will force you to have children. No one will force you to attend university. Those are not things that society will force upon you. So now that you're no longer required to meet these set milestones, okay, midlife is hitting you sooner. So the midlife crossroads is hitting you sooner. Okay, so far we've covered what the midlife crisis is. But now I want to give you some clear indicators of when you can begin to recognize that this is possibly me in midlife crisis. Okay, so like I had stated earlier, it now starts earlier as well. So between the ages of the late 30s and early 40s, you are likely to be in the midst of your midlife crisis. So age is the first indicator. Secondly, you suddenly feel that superficial changes to anything that is around you does not give you satisfaction. So things that you might have enjoyed previously, things that just used to improve your day, maybe just a shopping spree, okay? When such things no longer bring you satisfaction, you're likely to be in a crisis or at this crossroads. You also start experiencing a restlessness. So once that restlessness kicks in, you also on the other side suffer a dissatisfaction with everything. Like nothing brings you joy, okay? And then you start questioning everything, okay? You question your religion, you question your parents, you question whether adulting is a scam, you question your government, whatever it might be. You now go into this full-blown questioning phase. After the questioning phase, you now start looking at your feelings. Sometimes you feel lonely. Sometimes you feel like you're stuck. Sometimes you feel anxious. Sometimes you feel lost. Sometimes you even feel like some elements of depression as well. So these are all key indicators that it's likely that you might be in crisis. Now, for some people, they only really realize that they're in midlife crisis when they start undergoing physical changes that show them they're in middle age. These are joint pains, these are graying of hair, these are weight gain that like that weight that you just can't lose because everything slows down after 40. So all of those type of things start to kick in, and that then leads them to these other stages that I've already previously discussed. So some people, it starts with physical changes first, and then the emotional kicks in. Some people, it's the emotional that kicks in, and that's a key indicator for them. So this is just a brief of how you know that you're likely to be in the midst of the midlife crossroads. The next thing we're going to discuss is the different stages of a midlife crisis. So, like I had mentioned, midlife has stages, and not everybody will go through these stages, which is a given. Not everybody will go through each one of these stages, but each one of us should experience some aspect of these different phases, okay, or these different stages. So the first stage is called the awakening stage, and this is where you realize something is missing, okay? You try your level best to establish it, you try to satisfy yourself with things that used to make you happy, but you find that there's nothing that can fill that void with whatever is missing. So that's usually the first stage. It requires you to go and self-reflect, it requires you to introspect, and it also requires you to also admit at this stage that you are in a transition and you are a midlifer. Now, the type of midlifer you're going to be is one of two things. Either you're going to be a resignation midlifer, or you're going to be a detonation midlifer. The resignation midlifer are those who are just coasting through life. They are doing the same things they've been doing, they'll continue doing them until they die. They are those people, okay? So they just coast. Then there are the detonation midlifers. These are the ones who set off bombs everywhere. If they are not happy with the relationship, boom, explode, get out. If you're not happy with the job, boom, explode, get out. So they just cause these big explosions in different aspects of their life because they think that's the thing that's not giving them joy. So that's one way of being a midlifer. But what we've come to realize is there's actually a third type, which is the explorer. And this is my personal favorite because this is an individual who experiments with things that intrigue them, that excites them, that inspires them. They've taken these negative things associated with midlife and turned them into something else, okay? So these things could be new hobbies, it could be a new relationship, it could be even a career change. This could also be something that they may consider doing, okay? These are the ones who are positive explorers. Now, there's the other extreme of explorers as well. These are the ones who want to go back to adolescence and they start doing extreme things. These are the ones who go and get plastic surgery that doesn't make sense to anyone. They go and buy a sports car. Meanwhile, they have a family of 5. They go out and, start seeking young romantic partners while they already have a main at home. Lusaka, I see you. You know yourselves. They also just go through all these different superficial fixes to try and fix that void that they're experiencing within themselves. Okay? Now, after the exploration stage, there's what we call the reckoning phase. This is where you now sit and you say, okay, these are all the decisions I made, and these are the consequences of my choices. Okay? This is a point of profound inner transformation. Okay? You actually sit and you confront yourself. And it's a huge step, because this is where you now need to decide, are you going to continue with being your old self and go back if you made any drastic changes that are still reversible? Are you going to go back to the old you? Or are you going to embrace these changes and keep moving forward to the new person that you have become? Okay? Or you can even call this the reborn new version of yourself. Okay? So now, as a midlifer, these are the stages. And after the reckoning stage, this is where you now can confidently say, I was in a midlife crisis, or I was at the midlife crossroads. I have now crossed over to the next part of life. So now, the next thing is, I'm going to discuss how to get through it, like with practical things now. Because I've discussed like an overview, but I also just want to leave you with some practical ways of getting around this whole thing. It's a lot of stuff, but I'm just breaking it down into some briefs. If you guys also have anything that you might do or you might have experienced as a midlifer, please feel free to share it in the comments below. So the next aspect is how to get through it. What are the steps that you can actually practically put in place to get through this whole crossroads or crisis? So far, we've gone through what is the crisis, how do you know you're in it, and the different stages of it. So to conclude now, we're giving you some practical ways to get through it or to assist somebody who's going through it. So the first is self-reflection. Okay? As a person or a midlifer, there's going to be a denial phase. Okay? If you're smart, you're going to use that for self-reflection, because then you'll be able to see, why am I behaving like this? What's happening with me? And you ask all these different important questions, and also end off with asking, what do you expect to achieve in the future? So that is what that self-reflection phase is going to do for you. The second thing that you're going to do is to seek support. Okay? Don't be scared to reach out to your friends, reach out to your family, or even if you're not comfortable with those two elements in your life, maybe reach out to a therapist. The third is, you're now going to set new goals for yourself. Remember that from 7 to 35, you were following what society and your parents had told you needed to achieve. But after 35, you're now in a state where you're now setting new goals for yourself. And the beauty of setting new goals for yourself is you can set new achievable goals. And these will in turn provide you with purpose, and they'll also provide you with some form of direction. Because remember that all this time, your parents and society kind of molded you and gave you their expectations. But at this point now, you need to do that for yourself. Okay, so you need to provide yourself with purpose, and you need to provide yourself with direction. And the easiest way to do that is to set new goals for yourself. The fourth thing that you need to do is embrace change. You are going to go through personal growth, and you're also going to change. And you need to embrace this, okay? And in embracing this, you also need to remember that it's never too late to try new things. And it's never too late to reinvent yourself. If you're going to just wake up and look for a new career path, that's completely up to you. but make sure that these are realistic changes. Your life shouldn't suffer because of the decisions you make at this point. The thing that you need to do is to focus on your well-being. Prioritize your physical and emotional well-being through this crossroads. And you need to do this by exercising, eating healthily, and be mindful of the things that you take on as your normal practices. Okay? The sixth thing is financial planning. If financial concerns arise, seek advice and create a plan for your financial security. And the last thing that you need to do is to rediscover your passion. In your past life, as I like to call it, your pre-35 life, there were things that you were passionate about. Some things were practical, some things were easily dealt with, some things were things that you could do only because you were younger. Like for me right now, I would love to be able to be a 100-meter sprinter, but my legs won't allow it, my knees won't allow it, my hips won't allow it. So unfortunately, some of these things that you're passionate about, you just have to let go. And because you have to let go of certain passions, this also leaves you space to rediscover, or it gives you space to discover new ones. So as you let go of your old passions, you then now discover new ones. But the only aim is for you to achieve some sort of joy and some sort of fulfillment. A midlife crisis can be challenging. It can be crazy, but it can also be seen as a period of growth and self-discovery. And it's essential to remember that it's just a normal phase in life. We all go through it. And by understanding what it is, when it starts, recognizing the signs, and taking these proactive steps that we've put in place for you, I'm sure you'll be able to navigate it and emerge from it with a deeper connection with yourself. That's all for today's episode of Kube Says. If you found this information helpful, don't forget to subscribe. Remember, you're not alone in this journey of self-discovery. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch up in the next episode.